Today I fucked up my job interview by exposing my breasts to a room full of people. So I've been unemployed for 8 months. It's really hard in my city right now as thousands of people are all flocking to jobs in my field, so when I got a call for my first interview after all that time I was super stoked. Problem is, 8 months of sitting at home and depressed eating ice cream tubs in front of the job ads has made me go up a size or two in clothing. No biggie, I thought this is my chance. It's a perfect role I'm qualified for, location is perfect, hours are perfect, and all I need is to convince them how great I am, and I'll do that by buying a new work shirt. When shopping I said, hey, this button-up shirt is identical to the one I used to wear to my old job. Just buy the next size up. Here's where I fucked up. The morning of the interview I was stupid enough to forget I owned the exact shirt I wanted a size smaller and grabbed that thinking it was the new one. It was tight, but I didn't think much of it, and I couldn't find the professional skirt I wanted, so I thought no problem, I'll wear this other black one I used to wear to work. Walking to the interview I saw myself in the reflection of windows and was kinda like, left pointing finger, left pointing finger, left pointing finger, hey who dat girl? Those legs looking fine, who wouldn't hire this sexy professional beast? Which after this event I've learned is probably a red flag to think of yourself before an interview. So it was one of those group assessments where there were maybe 10 to 15 applicants and about 5 to 6 interviewers. We all sat at a round table to face each other, and eventually the team building exercises started. This was a lot of moving around which I wasn't expecting. Standing up, moving to different sides of the room, giving speeches, catching balls, etc. At the end of it all I sat down, and when I looked at my top, pure horror struck my face when I realized not one, but 2 buttons had practically exploded off my shirt. I'd if those buttons were holding on for dear life and couldn't handle it no more, or if the marathon I just did wore them out, but those homies pieced out and there were my girls just out in the open for the world to see. Obviously I was showing a lot of cleavage and a black bra, so it must have looked like I stole my office look from a porno. This next part may beat me, but I wear really tight push-up bras, so sometimes my nipples can get a little squashed up and take a peek outside, and then so it's a strong, almost definite possibility at the right angle or lighting you could see them broad as daylight. I immediately went into panic but act calm mode, where I morphed my seating position into a Gustro Dans the Thinker, or any position at all where my arms were covering my chest. The time came for one-on-one interviews. I think the interview went well. I listed my skills clearly and she seemed to like it, but of course, right at the end she gives me the "I do have some feedback for you," and oh boy, here we go. She started with, obviously this is a high-end establishment and that means we have to keep appearances up to our professional standards, and I was ready to be like, great, that's it, let's get out of here. But then she went on to say, and I just don't think your attire is appropriate. It does look nice, however I wouldn't wear it to another interview, as workplaces do believe cleavage needs to be covered to prevent any accidents. With absolute embarrassment on my face I did lie and tell her it was a brand new top, never worn before, and it was a risk and unfortunate wardrobe malfunction. And I don't see why we couldn't have left it at that, because she went to say, look, we all have big boobs. You have big boobs. I have big boobs. My sister has big boobs. But at the end of the day we need to learn how to control them. I was just nodding my head along, smiling, wondering when God was ready to kill me. I apologized again, but right after she said, oh, your skirt is just a little bit too short for my liking too. It rides up quite a bit. And that's when I got mad like a K-lady. When I tried on this outfit I looked in the mirror, but I didn't realize I had to do jumping jacks as a durability test for this interview, and secondly I think some people might enjoy my skank outfits at this company, so this is your loss. I didn't say this, of course, I just kind of nervously said goodbye and walked out. Had to catch the bus home as well, so that was fun. We'll update if by some miracle I get the job. Too long, didn't read, got too fat and wore a shirt and skirt too small, buttons exploded, a room of 20 saw my nipples and maybe even ass cheeks too, who knows, but company was not thrilled about hiring the next office tramp, so they made sure to tell me about it. right when I got home. Edit number 1. I'd love to answer your questions about what type of job this is and what city it is with such bad unemployment, but I don't want to give out too much information on my main account in case someone finds me and I'm forever known as that girl Earl. But what I can say is whenever I apply for a job I get an email saying thanks for the application. You and 450 other people applied, and chances are a lot of people in that 450 have 5 to 10 plus years more experience than me, as I'm only 22, so I often don't even get a call back. Plus less jobs over Christmas time. Edit number 2. I'll dig up the outfit in question tomorrow and see if I can recreate it to how it professionally looked when I first put it on in the morning, so you can see why I thought it was okay. But no, I will not be posting the slutty version. Edit number 3. I don't know how the buttons fell off, but I like to picture like that scene from Harry Potter Poe where the ants blew up and the buttons flew off and hit Dudley in the head. Edit number 4. A lot of people are saying that I shouldn't want to work for management who speak like that, so it was good my bazongas decided to pop out then and there. Guess you can say it was a blessing in disguise? But not really, more out and revealed. Also, I decided I'm definitely going to put on the outfit and post a photo of how it looked in the morning, since so many of you don't believe this post is real, because how can someone have no self-awareness or not look in the mirror before leaving the house? Because if you read the post, I did look in the mirror and thought the shirt was done up and professional. The buttons popped sometime during the interview and I did not know until halfway through. And yes, the interviewer really did say those words, but during the interview she was a nice young lady around my age, and I think she was just trying to help me because she thought I dressed that way as a choice and probably thought I dressed like that to all interviews, which, if I had them, would not be true. Also, I think some countries don't realize Australia has the most laid back and open people on the planet. You could probably call your boss a cunt and they'd just laugh, so her saying what she did, while embarrassing, is not really out of the ordinary, as we have that real hey mate life still exists outside the office attitude, and it was a girl-to-girl thing. But hey, at the end of the day, I went up a dress size and tried to play off wearing old work clothes, which means equals skirt up, buttons popped, titties out. Final edit. I changed my mind, I'm not posting it. Voila, weird. This might be a bit embarrassing, but in 12 or 13 years you'll be laughing about it. Well, you gave your best effort. Hope it goes well for you. Belinda blinked. What I don't get is that you showed up with all your buttons in place. The interviewer had to have noticed that. It's not like you said F this and ripped your own buttons off halfway through the interview. They had to have known that it was a complete accident, and making it out like you did it on purpose makes me so annoyed on your behalf. Pretty sure this story might get you a few job offers. Yikes. But after 8 months it has got me thinking about it. It was disposed of after all of this went down. Obligatory, this didn't happen today. In fact, it didn't even happen recently. I don't recall exactly when it happened, but it must have been a good 5 or 6 years ago at least. And this story is 100% true, with no details exaggerated whatsoever. So feel free to laugh at me. My boyfriend brings this up periodically to mess with me, sometimes in front of my mother. They both laugh at me. Disclaimer, I am male. Read the title again. Uncomfortable? Read another story. No? Strap in. Okay, so, as a young man just breaking into adulthood, I was still very much in the closet. After many years of internal conflict, I was finally at peace with my sexuality. But I hadn't told anybody about it yet, nor did I plan to. I had a few online friends in other countries who knew, but that was it. At the time I'd not long moved back in with my mother due to a flatting situation having dissolved. I was a single kid raised by a single parent and several cats, so it was just her and I. And the cats, I guess, but they're not really relevant to this tale. I was still a virgin at the time, on account of being closeted and quite introverted, and I was growing more adventurous when it came to the exploration of my body and my sexuality. So, I decided, I wanted to stick something in my butt. You know how it is. But at the time, Money was limited as I in between jobs, so I started with a small lube bottle, approximately the size of a smaller to average dong and nicely rounded on the end. I spent some time with this and grew comfortable with its size, then grew bored. I wanted something more, so I began to search the house, the bathroom, the kitchen drawers, my bedroom, etc. for anything that might be the right shape and size. Eventually, after much frustrated searching, I came across the Holy Grail. Years prior, possibly before I was even born, although I'm not sure, my mother was gifted a novelty salt and pepper shaker. And by novelty, I mean the salt shaker was a big fat cock and the pepper shaker was a set of balls. The salt shaker was solid porcelain, quite large, certainly larger than I was prepared for, but by golly it was the closest thing to an actual dick I'd found so far, and you could be sure I was gonna give it a shot. I'll spare you the details on its use, but suffice it to say that while it wasn't an initial success, eventually I managed. At first, I was returning it to the cabinet I'd taken it from, but once some signs of wear and tear began to show, I knew I couldn't keep returning it to the same spot just in case she noticed. So I hid it in the very original hiding place that was my sock drawer. A few weeks after starting to hide it, my mother had noticed its absence and questioned me about it. In a panic, I concocted a terrible lie that I'd found such a flagrant display of male genitalia offensive, and had disposed of it. She was a little mad about it, but she got over it given it was never actually used for anything and sat at the back of a cabinet covered in a layer of dust. So things continued on as before for a while until one day I decided I was going to take it to the shower with me, like I usually did. Opened my sock drawer and basically had a heart attack when I saw it was missing. My mind was racing. What had happened to it? I thought about it. I'd used it in the shower the previous day too. Had I left it there? With my heart pounding out of my chest, I ran to the bathroom. It wasn't there either. Oh shit, oh fuck, my mother had a shower earlier in the morning. She must have found it. I'd searched the house and my room extensively, hoping I'd left it somewhere else where there was a slim chance she hadn't found it, but my search ended in vain and I spent the rest of the day bracing myself for the horrible conversation that would likely arise once my mother returned home from work. I wanted to die of shame. My stomach was tied in knots. Eventually she came home and at first, didn't say much. I tried to play it cool. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to ask. Oh shit, oh fuck. What was my salt shaker doing on the side of the bath? End me. Just end me now. Strike me down with a bolt of lightning. Smite me with the fury of 1,000 suns. Cremate me and jettison my ashes into deep space. I scrambled to try and find an excuse. I was incredibly flustered. None of the words coming out of my mouth had any meaning or made any sense whatsoever. Is there something you're trying to tell me? I realized that I was defeated. That there was nothing I could do to unfuck this whole situation. This was it. This was the day my dignity would die. I think you can guess. Guess what? What are you trying to tell me? Come on, is it that you're gay? I nodded. She reeled back in shock and left the room for a good 5 minutes. I hadn't really thought about coming out to her, and certainly not in this way. When she finally returned, she had questions. I answered them all. At first, she was in a panic and didn't seem to be taking this revelation too well. Then, I told her, please understand, nothing has changed. I'm the same person I was yesterday. I'm the same person I've always been. All that's changed is you now know something about me that you didn't know before. You're right. I'm sorry, I'm just in shock. I didn't expect it. There were no signs. You're not obvious at all. In the years that followed, my mother would tell me that that sentence was the best possible thing I could have said. It helped calm her down and come to her senses. She realized that what I said was totally right. She went on to become one of my biggest supporters and she helped me to keep my secret until it was finally time to tell the world, which was a wonderful and positive experience all around, by the way. I wish I hadn't waited so long. If anything, we've only grown closer since then, and she loves me the same if not more than she ever did. And so, that's how I, mortifyingly, accidentally came out as gay to my mother. Too long didn't read. My mother was gifted a cock and balls shaped salt and pepper shaker many years back. As a closeted gay teen/early adult, I decided to use this for my own twisted desires, only to accidentally leave it on the side of the bath and have my mother find it. A very awkward conversation followed. Edit 1, to clarify, this wasn't some cheap feeling fragile thing. It was ridiculously dense and very heavy. You could use it as a makeshift nightstick and it'd almost certainly come out in one piece. So I was not concerned about it shattering or anything like that. I also graduated from makeshift toys to real ones many years ago, so no shattered anus here, thank you very much. For those who want to know what it looked like, I can't find an image on the internet of anything exactly like it, but this image isn't too far off. And finally, no, this salt shaker was not one that was used, nor did it have or presumably ever have salt in it. Edit 2, good god, this has gotten a little out of control. Thanks for the upvotes, silvers and golds everyone. To address a couple more questions, no, I did not keep it. It was disposed of after all of this went down. No, I do not have an actual picture of it, nor have I been able to find anything quite like it online. The link in the first edit is the best I can really do. Once again, this thing was sitting at the back of a cabinet full of unused special tableware. It was mostly just a display cabinet and its contents were filled with a thick layer of dust. As such, I also have no reason to believe anybody else was using it for nefarious purposes. And yes, it was at the back of the cabinet, but the cabinet was glass on front and around the sides, and this thing was taller than the rest of the contents. It was quite visible from the side when walking past it, hence why it was noticed. And lastly, I must say it again as people keep saying the same thing even though I've already addressed it, this wasn't some fragile thing in danger of breaking. It might not have even been porcelain and instead maybe stone. Either way, it was dense as all hell and really quite heavy. There was no risk of it breaking during use. I assure you I'm not that stupid, although at least reasonably so for using a salt shaker as a dildo in the first place. Well, at least you didn't come home to her finally putting the salt shake to use. On another note, I don't think I would ever put anything made of porcelain or any other hard brittle material inside of myself. Desperate times equals desperate measures. It's certainly not something I'd do now, that's for sure. This reminds me of when I found my mom's salt shaker when I was 8 or 9 maybe. It was so weird. It was shaped just like male genitalia, and it even vibrated too. I guess that's just an automated salt dispenser or something. The technology of this age is insane. I once found a novelty salt and pepper shaker in my parents' basement. The pepper was a black penis and the salt was a white penis. I was like, WTF, but okay. The shit some companies make and sell, I swear. Is there something you are trying to tell me? I think you can guess. Is it that you're gay? No. Your cooking is just too bland. I have to season everything. So the cock and balls set is hidden near the back of a cabinet, out of sight. Ever wonder why mom noticed its absence so quickly? Enjoy the thought, and great story. That's what I was thinking. Single mom with a cock and balls salt pepper shaker. That thing has been inside ops mom. Today I fucked up accidentally telling a coworker how awful it that her friend just had a baby. Long time lurker, first time to post. This happened to me 3 years ago when I just moved to an English speaking country, non-native speaker here, but I thought you would still enjoy it. Smile. In the lunchroom of the company I worked for, coworker A, hey B, did you hear? Our common friend C just a baby. Coworker B, really? Is it a boy or a girl? A girl. B, or me. This is awful. In the most glee voice. Shocked silence. Me, confused / I really mean it. It is so awful. I am so glad for them. Another couple minutes of awkward silence and me looking more awkward by the second followed. My boss, do you mean awesome? Me, excited that someone understands me. Yes, yes. But even better than awesome. Awful? Like full of awe. Boss, no. This is not what awful means. Awful means horrible. I stared at him wide-eyed, completely shocked, holding my mouth with both hands. Rest of the break room started laughing. I am sure I am still their running joke. I had a ton of these type of slip-up sexty. Thank you guys for all the upvotes. I am so happy you are enjoying this. You guys are the best. Too long didn't read. I thought that awful is the superlative of awesome, awful full of awe, and found out it isn't by basically saying, how awful, your friend had a baby. And the shocked reaction that followed. Terrific. I always thought that coffin is the word for suitcase and that suitcase is a briefcase. Lots of laughter when I told my friends how I finished packing my coffin. This today I fucked up turned/r/wholesome quickly. I once had a client who spoke English as a second language tell me a golf course was hilarious. When I asked him what was so funny about it, he told me that it wasn't funny but that there were many hills. Still cracks me up when I think about it.